We're always told that for a team to be great, everyone has to be on the same page, right? Total harmony, everyone rowing in the same direction. But what if that's completely wrong? What if the real secret to a huge breakthrough isn't agreement, but good old-fashioned conflict? Let's kick things off with one of the most famous stories in business history to see what I mean. So, when the very first iPhone was just a crazy idea floating around Apple, Steve Jobs was probably its biggest critic. I mean, he absolutely hated it. He called the project a dead end, something that would only appeal to the pocket protector crowd. He was convinced it was going nowhere. And yet, that project became one of the most successful, world-changing products of all time. So that brings us to the big question for today. How on earth can that kind of intense, top-down disagreement lead not to a disaster, but to incredible, world-changing success? Well, some new research gives us a really fascinating answer. All right, let's really dig into that story. We'll call it the iPhone paradox, because it's all about how a huge dose of skepticism actually helped create a revolution. So you had this massive clash. On one side, you have Steve Jobs, who is completely unconvinced. But on the other, you've got this team of engineers who are true believers. They were passionate about the potential of the touchscreen. Now, Jobs' skepticism created this incredible challenge for them. They couldn't just tell him he was wrong. They had to prove it. They had to pour everything they had into building a prototype so amazing, so undeniable, that it was literally impossible for him to ignore. And in rising to that challenge, they didn't just change his mind. They created something that would change the world. And look, this isn't just some one-off fluke story about Apple. There's a whole economic theory that explains what's going on here. It all centers on something called the persuasion dividend, this hidden engine that can make disagreement incredibly productive. Okay, to understand this, just picture two different teams. In team number one, you put an optimist with another optimist. No big surprise here. They both think the project's going to be a hit. They put in a steady effort. And yeah, they get good results. Fine. But now look at team number two. Here, you pair an optimist with a pessimist. The pessimist is skeptical, they're not really sold, so maybe they don't work quite as hard. But the optimist goes into overdrive. They work so much harder because now they have a mission to produce results so amazing they will win over their skeptical partner. And this dynamic right here, this is what researchers call the persuasion incentive. It's that powerful internal drive an optimist gets to not just succeed, but to create a real breakthrough, specifically to prove the skeptic wrong. It's not about arguing, it's about persuading through sheer force of results. And what's just fascinating is how the numbers play out. You might think the pessimist slacking off would drag the team down, but the extra supercharged effort from the optimist doesn't just make up for the pessimist's lower effort, it more than makes up for it. The result? The disagreeing team, the optimist and the pessimist, actually ends up with a higher total output. It's wild. And this perfectly captures the core idea from the research, the disagreement dividend. It's the actual measurable boost in a team's performance that comes directly from that productive friction, from that need to persuade. Disagreement, it turns out, can literally pay off. Okay, so if this dividend is real, how do you actually design a team to capture it? Well, this research gives us a practical and really counterintuitive guide for anyone who builds teams. So let's do a little thought experiment. Imagine you're a manager. You've got a bunch of employees, and they range from diehard optimists to total skeptics. Your job is to make two-person teams, and your only goal is to get the highest possible output. So, how do you pair them up? Now, our gut instinct is probably wrong here. Most of us would group the like-minded people together. Optimists with optimists, right? Let them build on that positive energy. But the research says that is the exact wrong thing to do. The best strategy is something called negative assortative matching. It just means you should do the opposite of what feels natural. You should deliberately pair your biggest believers with your biggest skeptics. That's how you light the fire of that persuasion incentive. But it turns out there's a level beyond even this. What happens when the disagreement isn't just about if an idea will work, but about which of two really good ideas is better? Well, that's when you get a true performance supercharge. So think about it this way. Everything we've talked about so far is type 1 disagreement. That's conflict over whether a single idea is going to succeed or fail. But type 2 disagreement, that's a competition of ideas. It's when two people each have their own vision they believe in, and they disagree on which path is the best. Now, the persuasion incentive works both ways. Both people are fired up to prove that their way is the right way. You can actually see a perfect example of this in the music world, of all places. When the band Metallica teamed up with producer Bob Rock, they had one shared goal: to make the best album in the world. The problem? They had totally different ideas about what that album should sound like and how to make it. That creative battle forced both sides to dig deeper, to work harder, and to challenge everything. And the result was one of the biggest and most innovative rock albums ever made. And here's the crucial point. This kind of creative rivalry, this competition of ideas, is so incredibly powerful that a disagreeing team can end up producing something even better than a team of two perfectly aligned, super motivated optimists. The competition itself elevates the final product to a whole new level. So let's pull this all together. What is the big takeaway here? How should this change the way we think about working with other people? Well, it seems like we need a new set of rules for teamwork. First, open disagreement isn't the enemy. It can be a huge asset. Second, the goal isn't just to argue. It's to build a place where people are motivated to persuade each other through their best work. It also shows us that skepticism, when you pair it with optimism, can be an incredible motivator. And maybe the most important rule of all, true team alignment isn't about agreeing on every single step of the path. It's about being 100% aligned on the final destination. And that leaves us with one final, kind of provocative question to think about. In your own work, on your own teams, is it possible that the harmony you've worked so hard to create isn't an asset at all? Could it actually be a liability that's holding you back from your next big thing?